21 Pilots has finally released their final Dema storyline music video, and I'm gonna be honest, it absolutely wrecked me. It's brutal, it's beautiful, and it completely flips everything we thought about Nico and Clancy and the Banditos on its head. So today we're gonna be breaking it all down scene by scene, because this music video single-handedly might be the most important moment in the entire 21 Pilots discography. So let's dive in together to unearth the hidden meanings of not only this music video, but the entire 21 Pilots message. City Walls begins with the torchbearer looking up from the ground as Nico holds Clancy in a chokehold. Behind him, 8 other Banditos breach the city walls, making it through the front lines. As the Banditos run up the stairs, the video cuts back to Nico, still gripping Clancy by the neck. The black paint begins to spread, and it's safe to assume that this is the exact moment where the Contract music video is taking place. But this time, Clancy is able to break free of the seizing and is able to look his adversary square in the face. What follows is a literal throwdown between Clancy and Nico. Meanwhile, the Banditos are seen rushing up the towers, pushing closer to save their supposed hero. Right off the bat, Clancy gets decimated by Nico, getting thrown against the doorway that enters the tower. Once Clancy is disarmed, Nico immediately turns to retrieve the dropped antlers. If Nico is able to destroy Ned's weapons, Clancy doesn't stand a chance against him. Clancy is able to quickly regain his posture and sideswipes Nico before he can reach the antlers. A back and forth ensues, but eventually during the fight, Nico reveals his true power. He shows Clancy memories of past encounters and even inserts himself into them. And these aren't just random clips, they're flashbacks to Heavydirtysoul, Levitate, and Jumpsuit. This does 2 things. One, it communicates that Nico knew where Clancy was during every stage of this plan. Even when Clancy was able to sneak out of Dema with the help of the torchbearer, Nico was still 2 steps ahead. And 2, it demoralizes him. It reminds him that every time he's fled, he's failed. He will eventually backslide and snap back to old habits, being reclaimed by Dema. Each flashback reinforces the same idea. Clancy can't simply run away from his problems. Every attempt to escape has been unsuccessful, and Clancy, being reminded of this, begins to lose ground with his confrontation against Nico, who consistently has the upper hand during their skirmish. After the Jumpsuit flashback, Clancy attempts one final strike against Nico. However, Nico corners Clancy against a wall. He rips the antlers from Clancy's hands and stabs him in the shoulders. As Clancy collapses to the floor, Nico is seen walking to the window where he snaps Clancy's only weapons, the antlers, in half. This is a devastating moment to be sure, but in this period of defeat, Clancy realizes that he can't simply run away from his problems anymore. However, with his only weapon, creativity, destroyed, he seems out of options. Then there comes a shift. Clancy's memory versions stop fleeing, and one by one, they turn to face Nico. And in that symbolic moment, the current iteration of Clancy rises from the floor with one final effort. Just as the torchbearer and the Banditos burst into the room, Clancy uses the iconic band hand symbol, a gesture representing community. In the background, Tyler sings "Entertain My Faith" from Holding On To You. This is one of the most important moments and messages within the entire 21 Pilots discography and lore. Clancy, backed not by his creativity but by the strength of others, finally is able to defeat Nico. The message here is pretty clear. You can't face your demons alone. You need support, community, and others to lift you up. Tyler has mentioned time and time again that what got him through difficult seasons was the clique, the people he's been writing music for this entire time. For Tyler, the fan base and community have always been central. That's what makes this scene so inspiring and powerful. And while part of me wishes we had seen how Clancy learned this hand symbol, the fact that he pulls it out so suddenly, almost instinctively, makes the moment that much more powerful. With Nico and the remaining bishops completely eviscerated, Clancy looks out the tower window at the sunrise. He survived the night, a direct callback to the themes of truce. But then the victory gets flipped on its head. Clancy tears a tapestry from the wall, not to destroy the old regime, but to drape it over himself like a cloak. When he turns back, he's donning the bishop's black paint. I was in absolute shock. When I saw this for the first time, I was yelling at my screen, and you can see those highlights on my YouTube channel. With the paint only coming up to Clancy's mouth, it mirrors the lyric from City Walls. My smile wraps around my head, splitting it in two. As well as Goner, I've got 2 faces, blurry's the one I'm not. Clancy begins handing out the empty cloaks to the Banditos, and here's where things get hazy for me. Why would the Banditos so easily accept these cloaks? Do they feel like they were being forced, or would they rather be the oppressors than the ones being oppressed? They know firsthand the oppression of the bishops and what it's like to be under that regime. So maybe they were just simply tired of being under someone else's thumb and chose to take control instead. But either way, this scene suggests that the power itself is a temptation. Eventually, Clancy offers the torchbearer a cloak as well. This moment mirrors the contract, where Clancy's mental image of the torchbearer once offered Clancy his jacket. Only this time, the roles are reversed. Torchbearer hesitates because Clancy has changed. He's no longer the friend that the torchbearer once knew. Clancy passes him coldly, and torchbearer backs towards the exit. The final shot reveals the new order. Clancy, now leader of a reborn Nico and the Niners. Clancy has shifted and changed. He's no longer the secret weapon used by the Banditos to end the cycle. When looking at the FPE letter from Clancy to Torchbearer, it gives us a little hint and clue as to why Clancy decided to pick up this new mantle, the mantle of Nico and Blurryface. He says that the crown is heavy and can show the citizens an example of absolute power. So in this moment, I think Clancy is tempted by control, controlled by temptation. He is genuinely going to try to do better than the previous bishops before him. But I think ultimately with time, that temptation of control will overtake his former self, and thus will inspire a new Clancy down the line to escape Dema and rise to power. Now, Clancy becoming Nico actually mirrors the real-life Nicholas Bourbaki scientific group. As you all know, this was a group whose members rotated in and out across eras. In the same way, Clancy has become the new Nico, continuing the cycle. The FPE letters even mention that the Banditos discovered evidence of previous cycles in distant caves. And now we understand this is just the next phase of the cycle that has continued to repeat for generations and generations. In fact, we've seen another Clancy start his own cycle, but was killed and didn't make it nearly as far as Tyler's iteration. We saw this Clancy within the letters shared on the DMA.org website during 2018 leading up to the events of the original Trench trilogy. Except this Clancy gets brought back to Dema by Keons, and because he began to inspire a movement, was killed by the bishops via vialism in hopes of the rebellion being snuffed out. That Clancy did die and didn't make it nearly as far as Tyler's version. He wasn't able to breach the city walls. Tyler's Clancy took up the mantle after he returned from the Island of Violence. During the epilogue of the music video, we see Torchbearer packing his bag alongside another Bandito. This is theorized to be Elliot from the FPE letters, but we're not entirely sure. Torchbearer loads his pack with maps, notes, and the worn Clancy mask, ready to start the cycle again. I never realized it before, but the way that the mask is weathered suggests to the fact that it has been used by hundreds of other iterations of Clancy as Torchbearer patiently waits for a successful cycle. And in a way, the Torchbearer is kind of revealed to be the main character this entire time. He's the one that refuses to give up, and no matter how many times the cycle repeats, he still has faith that one day a Clancy will finally break free. He has hope with every attempt and assesses what didn't work and what worked during previous iterations. He learns from every failure in the hopes that one day everything learned can be implemented to perfect the cycle. Remember, you can't let failure stop you from getting back up and trying again. And we can always hope that within the next cycle, we'll make it farther with the lessons we've learned from the previous iteration. The sun will rise and we will try again. And side note, I didn't really think about this until now, but imagine how demoralizing it would be for the Torchbearer to not only lose Clancy, his #1 advocate during this phase, but also 8 other Banditos that he would probably call brothers. But on the flip side, now that we know that the bishops were prior Banditos, it makes a little bit more sense as to why Keons suddenly betrayed Nico. He probably remembered what it was like being under the cruel oppression of the bishops and worked together with Ned and the Torchbearer to overthrow this version of Nico. This is reinforced when the Bandito with the Torchbearer calls Clancy this Clancy, confirming that Clancy is not just the name of a person, but a title or mantle that is assigned to a Dema citizen that has made it far enough to take on the bishops. Tyler just happens to embody this version of Clancy that has made it the farthest. And the details matter, like the face paint sitting lower than previous bishops. This subtle change hints to progress that was made within this cycle versus the previous one, hinting at the fact that with more successful attempts, the paint might disappear altogether. Some say this ending is realistic. The cycle can never truly be broken. And I have to say, in some cases, I disagree. Mental health, anxiety, depression are sadly all things that many individuals will experience throughout their entire lives. However, in cases such as addiction, I truly believe that those cycles can be broken, especially when you have the correct support systems. Tyler's own songwriting shows this evolution. Vessel focused on simply staying alive. Later albums asked a deeper question: now that we're alive, how do you live meaningfully? Songs like Intentions serve as a sequel to Truce. Truce was all about surviving the night, but Intentions is about using your life well once the morning comes. Even Drag Path references the sun rising in the morning and surviving the night successfully. That growth reflects Tyler himself as he's matured and gained more tools to combat his demons with more resilience. Personally, I prefer this conclusion of Clancy becoming a bishop over the theorized ending where Clancy ends in the Heavydirtysoul car. But even though I prefer it, this version is in fact more heartbreaking. This sounds so melodramatic, but after I watched it, I woke up the next morning feeling like I had lost a friend. Clancy wasn't just a character, he became someone to look up to, someone who showed you that you can face your demons instead of letting them take the wheel. And honestly, I'm glad that this ending wasn't a clean victory. If Clancy had just defeated Nico and skipped off with the torchbearer into the sunrise, I don't think that it would have had the staying power and emotional impact on me than the ending that we got has had. Instead, we got an ending that forces us to wrestle with its meaning, to sit with its heartbreak, and to reflect on the cycles in our own lives. And remember, to think is to be alive. So those are my thoughts on the City Walls music video and the conclusion to the lore. Usually I post an explained video the day after the music video releases, but I genuinely had to sit with this one over the weekend and think through what Tyler and Josh and Mark and Brandon were trying to communicate. I'll be posting a lyrical analysis to the song in the future, but I really just wanted to take the time to dissect the visuals of this music video alone. What do you think about City Walls, and what do you think about Breach as a body of work? And have you listened to Drag Path? Because I genuinely believe that this is album closer material. It's such a phenomenal song, and my heart grieves that it isn't on the vinyl and the record and the CDs, but genuinely, I think it might be my favorite album closer they've ever done. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to call somebody today, whether that's a friend or family member. You may be saving their life. This is Jake with Stolen Potential, and I will see you when I see you.